Imagine your teenager confiding their darkest fears, not to you, but to a chatbot.
The growing threat of AI's influence on children.
It's not just that teens today are lonely, it's that they didn't used to be.
Millions of teens are turning to AI chatbots for friendship.
16-year-olds Elle and Sloan are getting ready to pitch an AI-enabled app that gives dating advice.
I want to ask my crush out to prom in front of all of her friends. Is that a good idea?
Some of them are finding comfort. Others are losing their lives.
The chatbot went from helping Adam with homework to eventually becoming a suicide coach.
ChatGPT hit with a scathing new lawsuit alleging it helped a 16-year-old boy die by suicide.
So which is it? Lifeline or landmine?
The hypocrisy of adults in this space is not unseen. I don't understand why my teacher gets to make the syllabus on AI, but I can't use it.
They're inheriting a world that is different than any other generation has come up in. We need to catch up.
I do worry about my future as a young professional. How will we survive?
Welcome to Life with Machines. I'm Baratunde Thurston. This is the first of a special 5-part series on youth and AI, made in partnership with Young Futures. Now, this is an organization whose goal is to prepare our youth for the potential challenges of an AI and tech-dominated future. How? By funding organizations who help young people actively shape their futures with technology. So stick around, because some of that money, it could go to you or your organization. First off, let's come to terms with something. AI is normal tech now. It's not some far-off sci-fi concept.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
It's here right now, in our work, our schools, social media feeds, creative tools, mental health apps, jewelry, automobiles, probably our clothes soon. Now, us adults, we might get the excuse of being out of touch, but our digital native kids, we're not cutting them nearly enough slack. They didn't choose this future. They were born into it, and it's leading to life-altering decisions, sometimes with devastating consequences.
Teenager's death by suicide encouraged by artificial intelligence.
ChatGPT killed my son.
Artificial intelligence in classrooms discourages kids from thinking on their own.
They are realizing it is going to change how they work, all new ways of doing their job.
As the rapid development of artificial intelligence threatens white-collar work, a growing number of young people are opting to go into blue-collar careers instead.
All right, so I was in San Francisco recently, riding in one of those self-driving Waymo cars, on my way to speak at a tech conference about AI.
Okay, I'm doing the Waymo thing.
After my talk, a college student said something that just stuck with me. In her words, AI was ruining her brain, and she envied my generation for us getting to grow up without this constant tech saturation. Ruining her brain. That frustration is so real. But so's the absurdity. I mean, my 6-year-old nephew now bounces around family gatherings yelling, "Skibbity toilet." It's this Italian brain rot meme that the algorithms fed him. So, yeah, skibbity toilet, hilarious. And also kind of unsettling. It's this reminder of how this stuff is already rewiring our culture. It's this mix of tragedy and frustration and absurdity that defines this moment. But there's also hope. There are stories of teens using AI to solve actual real-world problems, like the son of a migrant family using AI translation to protect his parents' rights. So this all brings me to the big question. Will our youth be passive consumers of AI, or will they be its active shapers? With social media, we made a collective tragic mistake. We unleashed powerful technology without building the necessary safeguards and support systems for young people first. We cannot repeat that mistake with AI. This is where an organization called Young Futures comes in. They're one of the rare groups flipping the script, trying to get ahead of the problem. And I'm going to need some help explaining the complexity of this problem.
Hi, I'm Katya Hancock. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Young Futures. I'm the elder millennial CEO of Young Futures.
Katya might be running a nonprofit now, but she comes from the world of for-profit tech startups. She's no joke. I mean, she spent a decade as a founding team member at this company called Startup Health. Their whole thing was to build an ecosystem of 500 companies focused on solving massive global health challenges.
And now I am working on a very big challenge, which is helping young people across this country thrive and feel good about themselves and meet the world that they're inheriting with agency.
Now, she's co-founder and CEO of Young Futures, where she's bridging those worlds of entrepreneurship and philanthropy, all in the name of equipping young folks with the tools and agency they deserve. Plus, she's got some real skin in the game.
I am a mom myself. I have an 8-year-old and a son who's turning 11, and they deserve to feel optimistic about their future. At Young Futures, we exist to make it easier to grow up in a tech-filled world. We are a nonprofit that's funding an ecosystem of nonprofits that are solving big challenges around youth well-being and mental health.
Young Futures is really trying to do something different. Instead of just talking about problems, they're helping the helpers by funding organizations that are already on the ground, doing the work with and alongside young people all over the country.
How can we further accelerate and scale nonprofits who are already showing that they're working in communities, they have tons of trust with families, with schools, with teens, in ways that a startup really can't? My vision for what I think this could be is really a driver of systemic change for young people and their well-being in this country. Storytelling was a huge piece of the puzzle because it's one thing to fund nonprofits, which we do. We also have to support the leaders, which we do through our accelerator, Young Futures Academy. And then we have to tell their stories. We have to share the takeaways of what's working in communities with teens so that other nonprofits, parents, educators, teens themselves can benefit from what's working and meet this moment.
Young Futures hosts 2 $1 million funding challenges each year. That's real money.
We write on average $100,000 checks to nonprofits, and we choose nonprofits where that amount of money is catalytic and a game changer.
So they've got the funding challenges and the YF Academy, and they're using both of these to put real money in real people's hands, all while providing the support and storytelling you usually see in the startup world to make, in this case, a real systemic impact on youth well-being.
I just feel really, really strongly that this is an incredible generation. If you open your phone and read any headline or any social media content about what's going on in the world, it is all negativity and it is all scary. And young people feel a lot of pressure coming up in this world, and it's understandable.
And one of those pressures can be defined by the term digital tension.
Digital tension is so real. Tech is the scaffolding of their lives. Most teens will say, I wish I was on my phone less, but they need their phones to do their homework. They need their phones for maps. But we hear from a lot of teens like, I know I need to put on Do Not Disturb by 11, but my best friend was having a mental health crisis and I need to be there for him or her in the middle of the night. And so that's a pressure that is complicated. And we've even had teens say, you know, I wanted to take an Instagram break for a month and then I joined this club in high school and all the messages were through Instagram. And so that is impossible.
There's also such relatively unprecedented hypocrisy in terms of the expectations we're putting on young people. It just occurred to me listening to you right now that, you know, in my youth, smoking was a big thing, or drinking.
On the street, you don't get another quarter.
Come on, kids. If you want to grow up fast, take one of these. One puff and they'll soon be in my grasp.
But today, like that bottle of beer is also your calculator. That joint is also like your telephone and lifeline to your loved ones. And it's the classroom. So this addictive environment that they didn't create for themselves is a required environment to accomplish the things they truly need in their lives. And that's a type of tension that they're not in charge of. Like the grown-ups set up that world for them.
And, you know, one thing that we really talk about a lot is all screen time is not created equal. And social media is a type of tech that exacerbates pressure more often than it alleviates pressure. But gaming is the inverse. And gaming can be a tech that can relieve pressure at the end of the day because kids have so much less free time and unstructured time than they used to. And, there's the pressure to get into college or get a job, hour after hour of structured time and more homework than ever before. I do think it's helpful for adults to understand what role technology plays in kids' lives and ask them.
So what I'm learning is just telling kids to get off their screens or off my lawn is not a real solution. It ignores their reality. One way Katya explains this is to compare Young Future's work to the concept of functional medicine.
So functional medicine is really root cause medicine. So if you're having insomnia, instead of just rushing to prescribe Ambien, it's understanding the cause of your insomnia and targeting the root cause instead of just the symptom.
That is terrible for pharmaceutical sales, by the way.
Correct.
Please continue with your revolutionary concept.
A lot of people hear about our mission and that it takes into account technology and think, oh, great, so you're just lobbying to get rid of social media, or, you're just helping kids manage their screen time. And what we're really doing is understanding all the ways young people are struggling with their mental health and their well-being. And yes, how do those intersect with tech?
This is at the core of Young Future's new funding challenge. Oops, AI did it again. And yes, it's a reference to the Britney song. We had to do that.
The oops also refers to the way that we rolled out social media with no support for young people. We're trying not to do that again. We're trying to fund programs, resources, campaigns that can help young people navigate AI and use it in a way that's safe, use it in a way that preserves critical thinking. And, the train has left the station and we need to catch up.
That urgency is palpable. One person who's living that reality is Stanford sophomore Salman Bhan.
I noticed the shift where we were right in front of each other, but not really there. And slowly our conversations turned to just more silence, less talking. I would say the difference from before and after is we were able to be bored together for longer. And that boredom that was forced upon us would lead us to experience and interact with the world much more, climbing trees, going outside, whatever we used to do when we were younger. That kind of changed with phones, and we'd hang out together but be doing nothing and just kind of be on our phones or devices.
So at 16, Salman, along with his 12-year-old brother, Atiq, set out to build an app that actually helps people put down their phone. And shocker, the solution isn't restriction.
We started with trying all the traditional screen time restraints, the blockers, stopping the internet, screen-free Saturdays. We tried all sorts of solutions, and this kind of goes along with the research, but a lot of them had a really high abandonment rate. And I noticed that with myself as well. And that's kind of where I had this thought of, what if we could have positive reinforcement instead?
They created Lookup, a mobile app that actually rewards people for putting their phones down in social situations. I want to make this mandatory at every restaurant I go to.
Social connection, if it's easy and available and rewarding, it can compete with a lot of the compulsive rewards that our phone gives us.
Salman and his brother took all that research and teamed up with Young Futures. They were part of the challenge cohort called Under Pressure. The goal of this cohort was to relieve the pressure young people face in growing up in an always-on, tech-filled world. And it was a huge help in furthering the mission of Look Up.
Having a network of people working in a similar space is super, super important, especially when you're working in digital wellness and it's a space where you have billions of dollars competing against you. The grant funding was super helpful as we work on this next version of our app and hope to make it production ready. I guess the hard work of recruiting mentors was done for me by Katya and Christine. Shout out to them. We have really amazing masterclasses that they've done the hard work for to recruit top PhDs, business owners, etc. in their field to come teach us what they've learned.
I'm low-key jealous. And guess what? Look Up is just a click away. I'm seriously going to make all my friends install it on their phones.
Anyone with the app can press a button and start a zone. And a lookup zone is basically like an invisible perimeter that gets created by Bluetooth Low Energy, so we're not tracking your live location. And anyone within that zone who has the app gets a nudge saying like, hey, Baratunde told you to put down your phone, please. And for every minute that your phone is off, you gain points, and those can be redeemed for real-world rewards. Our goal is to have not just local businesses involved with like retail items, but also have more experiential rewards that promote social interaction further. So having concert tickets, sporting events, having influencers come on.
Honestly, what an incredible human being. Which brings me to another important person in this space.
My name is Christine Gloria. I'm COO and co-founder of Young Futures.
Dr. Christine Gloria is a technologist with a PhD in cognitive science. Before joining Young Futures, she spent 7 years leading the AI and emerging tech work at the Aspen Institute. And now she has her own future generations to think about.
I have 2 young kids, and being exposed to the industry, to the policies, to the technology for years before I even had kids, I knew that we were moving in a direction that didn't feel right. And then when I had my kids, it became abundantly clear that I could not leave the world with this being the future they had to also deal with.
But it's not just about deciding to care. They want to learn from young people, not just about them.
I'll admit that I'm in this space and I don't know everything. I don't come at it with this is the absolute way. In fact, most of my approaches, particularly with my 9-year-old daughter who is curious about everything, is on Minecraft. It plays on Canva, all of the things, is to learn in lockstep with her. And I think that is probably the best way for me to also understand where she is literacy-wise, what she's struggling with. And more often than not, I find that the question she has about the use of something, sometimes it's technical, right? Sometimes it's like, I don't understand how I move this graphic here or there. But sometimes it is like, well, Mom, I'm not sure if I should be watching this because it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Young people today want to do better. They recognize the murky waters they're swimming in. And sadly, they often can't look to the adults in their lives to help them navigate their own. They're probably getting something out of the behavior that you don't see. And it's because they lack that something elsewhere, and you probably don't see that either. So instead of like, why are you doing that, or stop doing that? Right?
Yeah.
What are you getting out of that? What is that providing to you? And where are you not getting it?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think as an adult, I should practice that, right? Why am I sitting here scrolling for 10 minutes? What is this providing me? Yeah. And often it's because I do need a break. Like I can say that to myself.
I want to avoid the trash world.
The hypocrisy of adults in this space is not unseen.
Now, Young Futures has its own way of trying to address those needs.
Youth listening tours are by far one of my favorite parts of this job. One, because it keeps me so humble. Like having young people essentially look at me like I am from a different century is always a great way to keep my ego in check.
In their defense, you are.
I am.
Takes
not
one
a
to know
future
one.
one.
So am I. Okay, but in all seriousness, these group listening tours are incredible.
There is clearly a recognition of the tension that they hold around, I understand all of the potential harms this AI could do. In fact, we'd had one group who ranged 12 to 18. Concerns around environmental impact were clear across them. Cheating was certainly first and foremost. Essentially, if we use AI, we're considered cheaters. And then the other was my adult, whether that be the educator or their parent, cannot be helpful in this space with me.
There's a theme here. Adults just aren't getting it. And this is precisely the kind of hypocrisy that Young Futures is trying to steer away from.
One thing that I particularly try to do and Young Futures holds very dearly is that we look at young people not down, right? We know that they have a lived experience that we can't share, and so they must have authority there, right? And so when they say, yeah, I don't understand why my teacher gets to make the syllabus on AI, but I can't use it, like, of course they're going to call you out on that, right?
All this research that Christine and Katya have now dedicated their life to is getting distilled into this new funding challenge, Oops, AI Did It Again. But back to the point. Within this challenge, there are 4 key areas of focus. The first, youth-powered AI, because the goal is to shift youth from being passive users and experiment subjects to active shapers of this technology and of their future.
We really believe that in order to readjust the trajectory of how AI is moving, you're going to need to have systems that are built by the people that are being impacted.
What kinds of solutions are you looking for?
I would love to see an open source language model that has Clanker and Unalive and all of the things that young people actually use when they are posting, but applying that into use cases that are helpful in their lives.
We have to pause for, this is an intergenerational audience, and you just dropped some terminology that does not span all the generations.
Clanker is a person who hates on robotics and AI. It's on Star Wars.
That's a lot of clankers.
Unalive is how people get around writing suicide or killing themselves online. So they are very different terms to get around the moderation systems.
All right, so you want to see some dope things coming from youth-powered AI systems, and I certainly like the idea of something that also reflects the linguistic and social culture of young people that is not what is being shipped from on high, shall we say, at the hills atop Silicon Valley. In terms of the AI in learning, work, and creativity, what would you be looking for in that category? I think so many of us are concerned about a loss of critical thinking.
Right. I don't want just to see things that are learning how to prompt engineer ChatGPT, but going to it and saying, okay, well, you gave me 5 answers. I'm going to check where these are coming from. I'm going to ask, well, can you be objective in giving me this answer? That's the type of competency that we would love to see in terms of what are core for this type of technology. We're really interested in seeing groups that are pushing not just how you use AI. We're actually curious to think about, okay, well, what does a fully integrated AI job of the future look like? What would you want that to look like, young people? What could that be doing to drive the arts? What could it be doing to drive music?
Out of all of these categories, this one hit hardest for Simon.
I do worry about my future as a young professional. How will we survive? When AI is making it so much easier for people to be productive, it can shrink job markets. One person can do the role of many more, and suddenly you also don't need to pay that person as much, so the wage stagnation due to automation is there. I am concerned that we don't have a solution to that in just like a broader, more philosophical sense. And I don't think, people use this analogy of the Industrial Revolution, etc. I think AI is very, very different in the sense that it is growing so quickly that it's able to replace a lot of human labor. And for the first time, we're seeing human labor and wage kind of not being correlated with each other anymore.
I am not envious of what these young people are going through.
I will say, as a cognitive scientist, there's one thing that I would love to see more of. So much of how these things work releases the idea of friction. And so learning how to deal with friction, whether that is a technical system or it is a curriculum approach, is actually really important for us because that's a really important way of learning. And so I think going back to what we understand works in the learning space is what we would love to see.
I think I'm hearing an alarm.
Ooh.
I am too. I thought it was an ice cream.
Yeah, or like an ice cream truck or something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is actually my alarm, but it's like one of those grandfather clocks, but it's like 3 rooms over. So that's incredible that you can hear it. It's done. It's done.
It's done. Because that was built at a time when clocks were clocks. I'm going to submit to the challenge and just call it remember the value of friction. And just it's going to be like a weekly assignment where you just like get to your friends, like agree to meet your friend at a certain time and place, and then ditch your phones and make sure to be there. I'm running late. I changed my mind. Nope. You just maintain that, you keep that promise, because that's what we had to do.
Exactly.
I'm sliding in to get off my lawn territory. I apologize. That's how you know that I'm human. Clankers.
I love that.
It's
yeah, look at
real,
you. Look at you.
Person.
Yeah.
The chatbot would never have come out like that. Which leads me to the next area of focus, AI in relationships and mental health, or the rise of AI companions.
Big one. Big one. Everyone's concerned about companion bots. I think there is an opportunity for AI to make us better at connecting with one another, which is, offering ways to learn how to listen better, to practice empathy, etc. But if it's a full-on switch out of human connection, I think that would be a tough one. Now, there are reasons. There are always reasons. Some young people feel so isolated and so judged that an AI is comforting. Okay, but then what are the safeguards that you're implementing so that young person doesn't get fully enthralled or just down that single path, I think is important. One thing that I am always wary about is if there's not an offboard for that young person, right? If there's not oh, you know what? We've been doing this conversation over and over again. Have you thought of seeking this resource? That is not good, right? And so I think that is a huge signal and trade-off of the harm. I think one of the good things is that that these systems can be really good and personalized to providing an intervention or a resource that is appropriate. Right. And so to the extent that it's a really good librarian of resources, that would be awesome. Right. Or a switchboard to the right resource. I think that is helpful, especially for companion work.
We have a set of principles emerging out of our group, therapeutic immersion into AI, just making this show. And, we've done our own experiments with our AI. We've talked to some really thoughtful people and come across some really challenging situations. We did an episode with Peter Lafort. He is kind of on our staff. He built Blair, our AI co-producer. And he has a really useful quote that I'll paraphrase now. But if an AI system is substituting for human connection rather than enhancing it, that's a problem. Right. And he's a parent as well. And he was noticing with young people in his lives, like the seductive nature of these tools, even for him, right, who knows these things. He's a fully cognitively alive and well adult, and he is drawn in. So if you are a teen and you're still forming your mental model of the world and your sense of self and identity, it's super risky to get so enthralled by, seduced by, connected to, and even addicted to something that's going to draw you away from people. And finally, intergenerational guidance. For people like me entering our Uncle Tunde phase. Uncle Tunde is a registered trademark of Baratunde Thurston Corporation and all subsidiary corporations.
Because people feel that they do not understand AI or they don't understand the technology, they withdraw and there's no confidence there. But in fact, because all of these technologies and how you engage with them are so informed by your life, period, you do have some level of experience and wisdom and things you should be bringing to the table. And even in these discussions we've had on AI, young people want adults involved. Do they feel like they can trust them and they think they know what they're doing? No. So it's not that they don't want it. Just like you keep telling me you don't know. You as an adult need to understand the prevalence of technology in a young person's life. I think when we think young people and technology, they think social media and phones. Hello, they use it in school. To be so reductive about how technology is in their life is not going to start you off on the right foot. Understanding that and then being able to say, okay, I recognize this, but have you also thought of and bring forward your experience and then work it out together? Because we cannot have young people looking at adults and not trusting them to help them figure this out. To the extent that we can get more adults having the confidence that they can be in lockstep with their young people, I think that is one solution set we're super eager to support.
That gap that Christine mentioned, the speed of technological change making older generations uniquely challenged to help, it reminds me of a conversation I had on this show with computational social scientist Dr. Avriel Epps.
I try to make visible as much of the invisible as possible. I think a lot about how even my own parenting is impacted by recommendation systems all the time. A Google search or DuckDuckGo search results, whatever, are algorithmically curated. Not to mention the flood of information I'm getting about current parenting trends. And I think even just simply becoming aware of that as parents will help us better understand what our kids are experiencing as well.
I've been struck by how uniquely challenged older generations are because we didn't grow up with this level of technology. It's not like I can relate to being a 6-year-old with a supercomputer in the palm of my hands. That just wasn't a thing. But the moral of the story is all of us adults need to try harder, to do a better job of understanding young people, their experiences, their power, their wants and desires to create their own future. That's also in our interest. Let me throw it back to Simon for his advice on what we should do. He is, after all, our official representative of all youth voices for this episode.
Get informed. There's a lot of really great resources out there to see how does a neural network learn? How does AI work? What guardrails does it have and does it not have? And same with social media. Learn how the algorithms work, how they put you in silos and exaggerate content, etc. Learn these things and their effect on you so that way you can teach your kid AI literacy, social media, coping skills at a very early age. And I think when young people are informed with this type of knowledge, that's definitely the first step in making better, healthier decisions in using all these platforms.
My fellow adults, are you listening? I'm literally taking notes.
Young people want to be online less as well. And they once they know the effects of this, they want to choose a different path, but there is not always a path given to them, right? And so I think for adults, sometimes it's easy to just say, oh, my kid is always on their phone, always doing this, whatever, when I think we should recognize that there's more larger, powerful forces at play that are kind of manipulating our psychology and the wiring of our brain. So it's not always a question of, I'm doing this by choice.
This episode is just the beginning. We're doing a 5-part series as our way of making the invisible visible. Over the next few episodes, we'll explore these challenge areas. We'll speak with experts and eventually with the innovators who are chosen for the Oops, AI Did It Again cohort.
We need a systems-wide investment in the infrastructure needed for youth well-being. By connecting them all together and cross-pollinating what they're doing and their resources and their networks, we would love to be able to provide solutions and reach every young person aged 10 to 19 in this country, which there's around 40 million of them. If every single teen knows where to go to find resources and support and belonging and community where they live or virtually, we'll know we have done our jobs.
And remember, it starts with all of us who play any role in a young person's life. Parent, teacher, auntie, uncle, godparent, coach, or mentor.
You need to be able to have a conversation and then to model exactly what you would like to see from that child, right? Because we are not modeling good behavior as adults on a lot of levels. And if we think that the kids don't see it, then you are surely putting your head in the sand. And that's just things that are internalized. So I that is what I say. If you can be that one kid's support and someone they could look to, then that's huge. It's very clear in the research that you just need one supportive adult and they would be so much better for it.
It's about showing up with empathy and curiosity. As a coach, not a referee. It's also about recognizing that this is a complicated time to grow up, and our kids are doing the best they can.
Have a conversation with them about technology and how it makes them feel. How do you feel when you're scrolling on TikTok? How do you feel when you're getting answers from ChatGPT instead of writing them yourself? And just come from a place of empathy. Yeah, that sounds hard. Tell me about that. Because this is a complicated time to be growing up. There's no doubt about it. And teens are doing their best and they want to be thriving and we need to support them.
And if there are any young folks out there listening or watching this, Salman has something to say to you too.
we have more power and agency than we think. On the flip side, we also have a lot of tools and resources, incredible tools and resources to use to create effects in society. So I would encourage everyone to use the tools you do have to start making a change, no matter how small you think, and take matters into your own hand. Because at the end of the day, it's our future that we're going into.
It's our future, all of ours. So if you're a nonprofit or a school or an organization working on these issues, I encourage you to apply for the Oops, AI Did It Again challenge. Check the description on this video for the link and share this opportunity with others. Most importantly, listen closely to what young people are really saying. We literally cannot co-create the future without them. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure to subscribe, rate this positively wherever you've consumed it, and find more from Life with Machines on our Substack, newsletter.lifewithmachines.media. We got some pretty big announcements coming beyond this series, and I want you to be the first to find out.